Welcome back to Pivot or Die. Today, I have guest Emily Binder.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hey, nice to see you.
You too.
I thought we were hanging out at a bar last week before we went to a comedy show. That was really fun. We met a few years ago as well. And we both discussed like a big pivot in our business strategy that I thought would be like so important for especially young girls who are entering entrepreneurship to kind of get a skip ahead. But we were talking about how we really flipped from approaching our business in this like competitive masculine energy and into more of like a flow and a feminine energy. And yeah, that's really like amplified everything, how we show up, your revenue lately. You've been like discussing kind of 4x your pricing and everything.
Oh, yes. Make it more expensive.
Yeah.
Everything. So I'm 37 and I've had my own business. Thank you. Thank you. I've had my own business for 7 years. So no paycheck, no job. And there are two businesses. In fact, one's a tech startup and one's a marketing agency called Beetle Moment. In my 20s, when I was in corporate, I was very much masculine energy. Like, look at me, I'm smart, proving myself, being assertive. And I've realized in the last few years that doesn't work. It doesn't work for a lot of women, but we feel trapped in that, like, it's a rat race and, you're trying to be competitive with men. It's like showing up to work in a suit, which women did in the 70s and 80s. And then like, wait, we can wear a skirt. It's actually better if I wear a skirt. Because I am a woman, like owning the competitive, or rather the nurturing and the compassion and the intuition. The intuition that women have is a superpower.
Something too that is so interesting about how we both came to that kind of clicking moment. I think that when I first met you, I was just like kind of thinking you had a bit of that masculine energy, but that still like attracted me to you. I was like, okay, like you are like a super, like you show up very confidently, and it seems like you can, you work with a lot of men as well. Like 99%, it's not like you're just working with women, right?
I have very few female clients, actually.
Yeah.
Not by choice, just most of my clients are in financial services, which tends to be male dominated. I love working with men. I love men. Also love women. It's confusing to be a woman in business sometimes because business by definition is a masculine activity. When we talk about masculine and feminine energy, it doesn't mean gender. It just means like the yin and the yang in nature of being active and leading versus being receptive, responsive. And this, it translates to dating and romance, but we all can play both roles. It doesn't make you butch if you're a woman who's a masculine energy woman. It doesn't work if you want to be with a masculine energy romantic partner because there's no polarity, no tension. I've found that in business, playing up the feminine energy that you have naturally works.
I find business and especially sales, because you're, the CEO of your company. Why am I blinking?
Oh, there's Wealth Voice and Beetle Moment.
Yes, but you're the CEO of
I'm the
Beetle
CEO
Moment.
and the janitor.
And and everything.
Not anymore, but for years I did all the roles, all the hats.
Yeah. And sales is
a deeply uncomfortable activity for me.
But I feel like it's kind of like dating, right? So when you speak 100%. About the whole like dating thing, I actually think it is relevant to business because it is.
Oh, it's completely. Business and dating have so many parallels.
Yeah.
All of it is parallel. Yeah. Because there's a dance and there's I like you, do you like me? Do you want what I have to offer? With selling and sales, when somebody comes off thirsty and pushy, it's a turnoff because desperation is repellent in business and in dating.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was doing all the sales for Wealth Voice. It's a SaaS. Essentially, it's a way to share your voice on Alexa and AI voice assistants, like a mini pod. So I started that in 2020. And the first year, I was alone. I did it all by myself. It was an experiment, but I did all the sales calls. And the only ones that worked out were when somebody came to me versus me chasing them down.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's very feminine.
Right. Feminine energy never asks someone on a date.
No. Yeah. And it's so true though. Like it's huge.
Sales, right?
The sooner like all the female entrepreneurs watching this, like that is the thing. It's just, it unlocks so much if you can just kind of yeah, show up and attract what
Attract. It's like,
don't chase anymore.
what do they say? I don't chase, I attract, right? It's like the Gen Z TikTok thing, but there is value in that. The Wealth Voice sales process I found started to really click into place when versus, going out and cold calling essentially, just put out the content and it's educational. It's not a sales pitch. It's gently branded. There might be a CTA at the end and then people come to you.
100%.
When they come to you because you have a solution, you're not, please buy my thing. You're like, I can help you with that. Then you convince them that they want it.
Yeah.
Tell me more about your problem. Yeah, that does sound like a problem.
Yeah.
I have the solution.
Yes.
You want it. Versus, listen, I think you have a problem. Let me tell you why.
Yes. Yes.
Nobody wants to hear that.
No, that's like such a golden nugget people need to take from this because that's so true. And then it's just a matter of like, I feel like building up boundaries is very feminine too. Being like, hey, here, because it's not only just, I think that's so key is to think of the solution. But the second thing about that is to add in some boundaries. Very feminine thing to do as well.
Yes, absolutely. You completely struck on it because I'm not a dating coach or anything. I'm not an expert on this, but I
could be though.
Very interested in masculine and feminine. I've read a lot about it.
Yeah.
The thing with boundaries though, the biggest thing about feminine energy is not saying what you do want, it's saying what you don't want. So that doesn't feel good to me. And then what you do with that is they have the option to solve the problem. Oh, let me think of something that will feel good to you. And actually, if someone's masculine, they're problem solvers. They're hunters. They love a challenge. Don't be like dead meat that shows up on their front door. Here I am. I made it easy for you. Turn off.
Yeah.
So with business, I mean, I think it can be really similar.
Yeah.
You just have to have like a valuable hot commodity thing that people want. And then they come to you. And I think with the marketing, social media and content is like the equivalent of being a hot girl, right? It's like, I share my wares. Here I am. Do you like it? You come to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. You've been awesome with your content strategy.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
You know how much work it is to do all of this.
Yes. And it's helped me a lot too with this strategy. It's been like completely transformational. One of the biggest like pivots in our business, right? Has been, but that was a huge flip for me. And I think it's funny how I feel like I kind of got that information from like books about dating basically, which is funny, but there's not that many I feel like business in general is embracing who you are and showing up confidently. So I don't know.
The confidence thing is interesting because I have gotten feedback frequently, just like you said, that I appear confident and maybe even a little masculine at first, which by the way, I have a love-hate with that, the masculine part.
Yeah.
Because I'm worried, okay, well, what if my future husband sees like my business content and I'm like, but that's not how I am on a date.
Yeah.
But about the confidence, yes, it's important to seem confident when you're selling something because people can sense when you're not sure about it, they're not going to be sure. They don't want it. Like people want you to give them a suggestion and you're the expert. With selling, I've seen this go south a bunch of times, like on sales calls or when some of my team and I are pitching clients with Beetle Moment marketing. Being overly consultative in a sale, nobody wants that. It's too much cognitive load. Like if I'm buying your solution, you're the expert. Suggest something. Tell me. Don't give me an open-ended question of, well, what level do you think you need? What level of service? Would you like our lowest tier? Maybe that'll be enough for you. I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah.
Sell me on the best one for me.
Yeah. People don't want to, it's too much cognitive load. That's the perfect way to put it. You don't want to make people think too hard. It's funny too how finicky sales can be when you go in as more of an expert and a guide rather than going in as a like vendor. Like, what do you need? You need a website and a this and a that. Okay, here's the pricing sheet for that. A lot of people come in actually expecting that from like a discovery call with me, I would say. But that's never really the approach. But yeah, I don't know. I'm sort of like derailing the topic.
No, I like that. About the confidence though, I think it all, and the boundaries and even language, My podcast is called Voice Marketing with Emily Binder. I'm all about voice language communication. And when I say voice, I think this could mean truly the sound of your voice and your breath and how it comes across, because we immediately form an impression based on the voice way faster than a physical or a body language.
Yeah.
It's the voice. It's
Yes.
everything. But with that, like being so consultative and feminine essentially, or polite, or making yourself small, or being deferential to the client, it doesn't really work when you are positioning yourself as an expert that's selling especially a considered purchase, like a high-end service. Yeah, just the language that we use as women that we think is nice, it's hurting us a lot of the time. Right? Like, oh, just checking. This is my favorite one lately. Just checking in, just following up, just following up. Just is, I'm sorry for being here. Yes. I'm sorry I exist. Oops, I took up space. And then like following up or checking in, that triggers fight or flight, because somebody knows, oh, they're trying to sell me something. Because that's what every salesperson says. You sound just like everybody else.
Just swinging back.
Just circling back.
Circling back, right. Swinging back. Circling back. Yeah. Just in general needs to be eliminated.
Yeah,
what do you use instead usually?
Hey, Jim, we spoke a couple months ago about your website. I had a few minutes to follow up with you. Or sorry, wait, I just did it. I had a few minutes to get back to you. That's a little different, right?
Yeah.
I had a few minutes here to get back to you. And then you're a little higher status in their mind because you're busy, versus I'm desperate. Like, hey, Jim, just circling back. Yeah. Anytime you're free, call me, please. I'm lucky to hear from you. That's like, you want to take me to the prom? Get in line. Yes. Subconsciously, it's the same.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. And so you feel like that is more of a masculine energy that you're bringing to the table in that regard? Because I guess in some ways I feel like that's very feminine to just be like, get in line. Get in line
is feminine.
Yeah.
Because the feminine is the prize. Think about it sexually in nature, like a differential parental investment. If you want a woman is a prize for thousands of years in nature, because we take on more risk anatomically. If we mate, we might end up pregnant.
Yeah.
And if it's with somebody who can't provide, then we're really screwed. Like, I'm in the cave and I'm pregnant and I have a baby and I have no resources. So obviously I can make my own resources now, but energetically that's still at work, and we're animals.
Yeah.
So people want what they can't have or what is scarce, and they'll pay more for something that is scarce, something that is prized in sales and dating.
Yeah. Because earlier you did mention that you kind of flip out of your masculine into your feminine at the end of the day. But then at the same time, I feel like your approach is so feminine, because it's just this like, yeah, you show up confidently. You're like, I attract, I don't chase. Do you want to take me to the prom or not? Yeah. In terms of sales, I'm the prize, right?
Right. And I'm not perfect, and I slip, and I've had years where I was in a scarcity mindset. You know, when you have your own business, it's feast or famine sometimes. Yes. And I just know that all the times when I was in scarcity, it never worked out. No. Energetically, it's like being on a hamster wheel of trying to get and acquire, but you want things to just come to you. So the switching is hard. It's like a switchboard, because you're in business, you're being masculine. Not meaning you're butch or anything, but just you're trying to generate and lead and act.
Right.
And feminine energy is much more responsive. So like, I'll be running my business all day, and then at night I want to go on a date, and then I stop making decisions. You can make a decision and propose this, and I'll let you know if I like it or not.
Right. I see.
I'm not going to fix it, or I'm not going to make the solution or make the plan. You do that. I'll tell you if I like it.
Yeah.
That's the way I like it to be, at least.
Yeah. What was the big, how did you pivot into this, out of the kind of desperation, polite, overly excuses, kind of younger to this new, confident, come to me, I attract you?
I think I always was so masculine, which I was in my 20s, like in my corporate jobs. trying so hard and trying to climb the ladder and get respect and convince people that I was older than because I had a lot of responsibility at a young age. I didn't want anyone to know I was 24 running all the budget rent-a-car markets, like director of marketing for budget. So I was really like tough and had this super boundary kind of exterior. And it's just, I would be embarrassed to look at the way I used to email people. I wouldn't use an emoji. I wouldn't use an exclamation point because I thought it was girly or soft. Right. So silly. I didn't know any better. I think by following what I felt was on my path especially with creating Wealth Voice, which I started this tech company in the middle of at the very beginning of the pandemic. I was so confident in that idea. I just knew it was the right thing. And then people, they trusted me and they believed me. They're like, oh yeah, I see why you did that. That is cool. I want it. And I charged a lot. I made it very expensive because we were the only people doing it, which was essentially a content management system for a voice app. It's like, instead of Squarespace to run your regular website, we were like Squarespace to run your voice app on Alexa, or we still are. You know, it's just become more than that. But it was easier to sell that because I believed in it and I knew I was confident because I was confident. It wasn't an act. And that attracted people.
Right.
So if you do something you really are confident about, I think the rest falls into place. It's hard to get there though. You're going to stumble on the way.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was really the big shift for you was when you really believed in what you were selling instead of just trying to climb a ladder in another business.
It's so
becoming
true.
An entrepreneur, I guess.
It's so true. People can smell when you're faking it. And when you're trying to sell something or even market something, like it's not a direct pitch, it's not direct response, it's gently marketing. If you really don't believe in the thing, they're not going to believe in it.
No, yeah.
You have to be enthusiastic.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole like selling, sell this pen to me.
Yes.
I'm like, I don't think that works unless you love the pen, I don't know.
Sales is such a hated profession. And I'm not in sales, I'm in marketing.
Sure, but you make sales.
So my dad always said this. He said, sales turns opportunities into dollars. Marketing turns dollars into opportunities.
Like how you're building your content.
Yeah.
Too.
I spend the dollars to make content, which creates opportunities, essentially. The content has been everything. You've seen this with your business too.
Yeah.
I don't advertise. I'm going to do a pay-per-click ad.
No.
For a considered purchase?
Oh,
no.
Exactly.
This is a long sales cycle.
I did it once.
Yeah, because Google gives you a free $100 credit. That was it.
That's what happened. And then I was like, yeah, I'll just try this. And it got so many leads, but it wasted all my time. None of them were good because everyone was looking for the lowest bidder. So it just doesn't work when it's, a considered purchase. You need to build so much trust to really like, especially because the ticket item is so high, what we're selling. It's like a huge deal, the foundational like branding pieces of a business. And for you, like helping with podcasts too, that's building the trust, right? It's extremely... It's a huge commitment in terms of financially and emotionally and time for them. Like it's a huge, you can't really do a Google ad for it. I did it once to like lead people to like this channel and try to like get more traction, but that worked a bit, but I don't know. Yeah, it's really doesn't make sense for what we do.
With AI and everything that's becoming easier to create, like marketing content, you could dupe yourself and make an entire AI podcast of Alfie and Rebecca. Yeah. Potentially, essentially, like pretty soon.
Yeah.
And it might be such a good deep fake they can't tell it's not you.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And we can duplicate our efforts with a VA or maybe even with AI. But when it comes to the brand and the foundation, like the work you do that is from your brain, I don't see AI having the same level because AI doesn't understand humor or nuance.
Right.
The backbone of great copywriting, there's always a little nuance to it. Ask ChatGPT to write a joke.
They do, but
no, they're not funny.
They're not funny.
It's so it's
they're
cringe.
Puns.
It's
just puns.
It's terrible. Like my friend, the El Arroyo Instagram, the Austin, like that billboard that always has the funny puns.
Oh yeah.
Do an overlay from the El Arroyo like when you guys.
Yeah.
My friend Chris is obsessed with, and he always like reshares it on Instagram. And there was one about, it was an Excel pun, like Microsoft Excel, like when I excel, when you accelerate my pulse, or I don't know, it was some romantic thing. And I texted him and I said, like, this is the best one for you. Like, it has to do with Excel because he's a kind of math guy. And I was like, I need a joke so that I can make Chris laugh. So I asked ChatGPT, write a joke for my friend who loves Excel. And it was like the dumbest thing you've ever. It wasn't funny. It doesn't understand humor.
No, it doesn't. It's true. When it comes to when you're working with men versus women, do you kind of change your approach in any way? I don't know if this is something that you may have done intentionally or not, but I'm just curious.
Yes.
Yeah.
I forgot what it's like to work with women, I swear. Like I said, most of my customers are financial advisors.
Right.
And this has been somewhat accidental. I kind of fell into the industry because I had a very famous customer like 6 or 7 years ago who is in that space, and then the rest followed. There have been a few women. You talk to women a little differently. You don't have to be as direct. Just like with body language and the physical approach, men like to be approached flat, straight on physically, like you walk up to them and you face them. And women like to be approached on an angle. It's less threatening. We're always a little more protective because we are physically weaker. So if you want to hit on a woman, don't like walk straight up to her. Approach her from the side. It's much more effective. I think you do the same thing in the approach emotionally. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, dive in a little bit more on that.
Okay, the first night I met you, I probably sidled up to you because I saw you look cool. You had a good vibe. I want to be friends with you. I'm not going to come straight up to your face. It's very aggressive.
Right.
So, but with men, sometimes you have to catch their attention in business, I think.
Yeah.
In personal, I wouldn't approach a man at all. I might smile for more than 3 seconds with eye contact. That's inviting. That's not just polite, but that's like, come over.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for body language, but then you said also in your emotional approach. So I was just curious about that.
Which do you mean again?
Well, you were saying that you kind of side up to a woman like physically, but also like emotionally. So
I think you just compliment their lipstick or their, you find common ground.
Icebreaker. Oh my God, that's so funny because I do. Sometimes I'll compliment guys. I'll approach it the same way as a girl, as a woman. And I go like, oh my God, that's a great shirt.
Maybe they like it.
I don't know.
I think everybody's different. Guys today, well, younger guys, there's basically an epidemic of feminine energy with young men because if you look up the stats, like Scott Galloway talks about this all the time, there's a high percentage of young men, let's say average age like 20, living in their parents' basement without a job.
No way.
Watching a lot of porn, not dating. We're not dating. We're like 30% of people around, I believe it's 18 to 20, have not had sex in the past year. So that's a whole different ballgame. Like, I don't know how to approach someone like that. I'm talking about the people like my age and up, but we're in a weird moment societally because the whole personal interaction thing has gone online so much. People like forget kind of how to do it in person.
Yeah. That's so true. People get scared when you approach them at all, no matter how gently. Maybe everyone needs to be approached super gently.
I think women want to be approached by men. They want to approach them. But if it's not, then he's a creep.
Yeah.
Why are you talking to me? But if you like the
Absolutely.
guys, oh, yeah. Hey, how you doing? Not fair, huh?
Yeah. So I saw your episode recently about how women say, I feel like a lot. And you're actually saying that's totally wrong.
It's oftentimes wrong. It's hurting you in a couple ways. So not just women, but a lot of people say, I feel like you XYZ. So what you're doing is you're saying an I statement, but what you're really doing is it's a judgment and it's an accusation of someone else. If it's, I feel like you, whatever. You might as well say, I think you suck. I feel like you don't respect me. You're not sharing a feeling, you're sharing a judgment. So you could say, when you talk over me in the meeting, I feel inconsequential. Right? So then it's not putting them on the defense. But this, I feel like women use it also in meetings or in business to say what they think, but they think it sounds gentler because, I'm feeling.
Right.
You don't sound as confident I feel like we should double the revenue this quarter. I think we should double the revenue this quarter. Let's double the revenue this quarter. That's, I guess, masculine. But you do that like in a meeting. That's the time to do it.
Yeah. Well, that's almost like the just thing, where it's sort of just taking a little bit away from the confidence of it. But you did mention before, like in the example of like confronting a colleague, that makes me feel like this. Yeah. That's appropriate, right?
This is from Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg, which is one of my favorite books to cite. It's not my original idea here, but the way to do this is the statement structure. You state a fact or an event, no emotional, just when you XYZ, when we were at dinner and you were 30 minutes late, I felt, then you say a true emotion.
Yes.
Not a judgment. You say, I felt unimportant, or I felt, maybe you could say disrespected, but that's like a judgment too. I think I've got these correct, but look up nonviolent communication. Yeah. So when you interrupted me in the meeting, I felt small. Mm-hmm. In the future, could you make sure not to interrupt me, please, when we're with the client?
Mm-hmm. And that's appropriate. But then when people are saying, I feel like we should state a fact or an idea.
There's like,
that's where it's two different things powerful. Here. But no, but they relate though, because it's like, how do you kind of use the
You just sound
language?
like a little girl. Like, I feel like we should maybe change the logo to blue.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we changed the logo to blue, we would probably have a stronger impact on the audience that's going after prestige or power or trust.
That's a lot stronger.
Could we change the logo to blue? We might have a better impact on those attributes that we want the brand to be associated with. Mm-hmm. Right? I feel like we should make it blue.
Yeah.
I feel like it might be better. You sound like a little girl. That's fine when you're with your friend at the bar.
Yeah.
It's not in a business meeting.
Yeah.
Just, like you cut off your own legs.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's leave everyone with some advice.
Try to make more money right now. This is the most important time in your life to make more money, because when you invest it and you save for your future, that's the true power. You don't need to wait for someone to ask you to the prom. If you have your own money, you can go to the prom if you feel like it.
Yes.
You're not beholden to go to the prom because you don't have any money, right? So negotiation and salary, that's something I'm huge on for young women, someone in their 20s. Ask for more. Ask for an uncomfortable amount of money. Ask for 40% more than you think you should ask for.
40%.
They will negotiate you down, and maybe you'll get like 15 or 20 more than you thought was appropriate. Because 90% of resumes contain lies, and men always go for a reach job, a reach promotion, whatever. And women think, oh, I'm not ready for that. Just reach. Men do it all the time. Be confident. Fake it till you make it. Ask for more money.
And that's what you're embodying now too. Yeah.
Exactly.
You're raising your prices.
I've raised my prices like a crazy amount. And I'm doing an experiment. Perception is reality, And people get paid $50,000, $100,000 for a keynote. It lasts 30 minutes. Why?
Yeah.
It's a mixture of the value of the information, their brand, the perception of the quality. How did they get to that point? They had to raise their price at some point. Everybody's a brand.
Don't be afraid to raise your prices.
You have to raise your price because the middle is a giant chasm, just like the middle class in our country. You want to be either the very lowest, cheapest, or really expensive, because in the middle you are lost in a sea. No differentiation.
Right. So it's actually beneficial to be the most expensive.
Oh, yeah. You have to pull it off, though. You have to be confident with it.
Yeah. And there is a huge, something big for my business, too, is when we all just had this aha moment of, hey, if we just raise our prices and that means we only have to work with 5 clients instead of 10. And then you're not wasting time on just all the little things that come with managing the project and bleeding more. Like you won't before, even if you're hitting the same revenue, the profit just dwindles when you're just sort of spreading yourself too thin. And that's very feminine too, I feel like. It's just standing back and being like, hey, I need to be really conscious of all the energy I have in a day. Yes. And how I'm spending it. We have
finite energy. We have to be very selective where we spend it. That is feminine energy. It's being picky.
Yeah. Being the selector.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
Women choose. Men don't choose.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you for chatting with me today. Plug your info.
You can find me at emilybinder.com. I'm at Emily Binder on all social networks. My YouTube channel is Emily Binder. My podcast is Voice Marketing with Emily Binder.
Subscribe, guys. Subscribe to Pivot or Die. Stay ahead.